Hello and welcome to Niaga Spotlight with me, Tamina Kausji. Niaga Spotlight goes through the week in business headlines and future affairs, market watch, industries, analysis and insights. We've got you covered on Niaga Spotlight. For this week's analysis, we take a look at buy now, pay later and responsible spending for the Ramadan-Raya season. The Malaysia BNPL market report 2023 shows that BNPL payments are expected to grow by 23.6% to reach an estimated 2.3 million USD or 10 million ringgit in 2023 alone. Now, BNPL players are also in discussions with Bank Negara Malaysia about regulatory issues, plus potentially forming an association for self-regulation with a code of conduct for better managing the industry. To get a better picture about BNPL's industry's role in encouraging responsible spending, especially during the Raya Ramadan season, I spoke with Iman Nabila, Head of Partnerships with Mobi Group. Let's watch. Iman, thanks so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure. Let's get started with the discussion. So BNPL is, of course, growing in popularity among Malaysians. How can the pitfalls of overspending and also consumers' financial burdens be reduced through responsible BNPL financing?
Thank you for having me here. All right, I think for buy now, pay later, the pitfall is people tend to overspend and also having overspending. So with buy now, pay later, we advocate through Mobi Islamic, we advocate responsible lending. So from responsible lending, a user that applies a buy now, pay later actually goes through a credit check with Mobi Islamic. So we do two types of checking. Number one is the credit risk assessment. Number two is the affordability risk assessment. So through our credit risk assessment, this is where we check, similarly like the bank, their credit reports and their credit standing. From there, it's instantly approved. They are given their spending limit up to 5,000 ringgit. And with this, they can gauge and spend within their means. But if a user wants to increase their spending limit out of that 5,000 given, they can actually apply through our compliance team with up to 10,000 ringgit. This is where we need supporting documents from them, which is their proof of employment, their bank statement, and also their proof of income. So from this, they will be having an increased spending limit up to 10,000. So through these two checking, this is where Mobi Islamic advocate responsible lending, because only through this bank grade like checking that they are given a spending limit for them to spend through our buy now, pay later.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Iman. I think it's very reassuring that there are mechanisms in place to ensure that not just paperwork, but credit-based and affordability risk assessments are also quite thoroughly done. Let's move into the BNPL industry. It has recorded such strong growth over the last 4 quarters, supported by increased e-commerce penetration. And of course, with pandemic restrictions now fully eased as compared to even last year, can we actually expect such steady growth rates from Q2 onwards for the rest of the year?
Yes, I think we can. Even we here at Mobi Islamic, we are expecting to double up our numbers because, Timina, during pandemic, we are all forced to the digital space where we are transacting through e-commerce. And yeah. And also during that period of time is where buy now, pay later came into the market space in Malaysia. So that's where people in Malaysia or consumers in Malaysia learn about buy now, pay later through the e-commerce and website purchases. But now, since the restriction of pandemic has been eased and lifted up, people can now have the buy now, pay later option in physical stores, and therefore it helps increases. Even in Mobi Islamic, during our early days, we actually started off in a website. So customers or consumers learn about buy now, pay later through websites. And now we already have our own app, which helps facilitate users to use it in physical stores or even websites. So I think, yes, we can expect that steadily growth through buy now, pay later.
Absolutely. I think you make a great point there about especially point of sale access for Malaysian consumers everywhere. And hopefully the coverage will also increase to be outside of just urban hubs and Klang Valley, right? All
Right.
right. Moving along, consumer behavior, retail spend dynamics in Malaysia are pretty predictable, especially when it comes to our peak spending periods that are traditional, such as Ramadan and Raya. How is BNPL bringing value to end market dynamics during festive seasons like Ramadan-Raya?
So I think during festive season, the dynamics is people tend to spend more than their usual days. So having a buy now pay later helps them having another tool to spend during the festive seasons. But even though, like I mentioned, with Mobil Islamic, it's responsible lending, but even though they are trying to spend during this festive season, a consumer still needs to pay 1/3 of the payment for them to purchase something with the given spending limit. So even though they are buying, they're having a tool to buy and make their purchases, they still need to pay 1/3, which shows them to reevaluate themselves whether they can afford to purchase this item or they cannot afford to make these item purchases. Unlike if they were to have a credit card, they don't have to pay 1/3 of the payment, they can just spend. So this is where they tend to overspend and not gauging their bracket.
Ensuring that consumers definitely feel the amount that they're spending, even 1/3 of it, I think would naturally make consumers a little more conscious. Great point there. And finally, Iman, I wanted to ask you about Sharia compliant BNPL is also a new addition. How can this offer financial freedom combined also with the opportunity to improve and develop Malaysians' fiscal knowledge when it comes to spending throughout the year, not just peak periods like Ramadan Raya?
Okay, so for Sharia compliance, being Sharia compliance, meaning through Mobil Islamic, how we are advocating Sharia compliance is we go through our card contract, which is derived from from Quran and also the Sunnah teachings of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You can refer this to Surah Al-Baqarah verse 245, where there is zero interest in the loan given and there is no hidden cost. So there's no reactivation, no cancellation fees. So our costs, so our charges are very transparent. So there is 0% interest for consumer to use a Sharia compliant base. And to answer the last bit of your question, for financial knowledge, I think this caters also to the new to credit type of consumers. So these are the youngsters aged between 18 to 24, the Gen Zs, where we want to introduce them to credit, and they can do that through a buy now pay later, where they can spend in controlled environment where there is no interest and they can get up to 5,000 ringgit. From this also, they can they learn how financial knowledge is, how repayments are, how credit is given out to them. So they can do this in a secure platform to learn their knowledge. And then for financial literacy and financial freedom, 55% of population are non-bank and underbanked. So for this population, they have no access to financial products that are being offered for the bank, but they can get it through a buy now pay later, where they will have access to certain control of their finances. For example, let's say a parent of a B40 category that would like to purchase something, let's say for a festive season for their children, their new clothing or their new clothes, they can go through a buy now pay later and have this certain control and without going to loan sharks, and you still have the access to this financial product.
Love that you pointed out the fact that, of course, we still have a vast majority of Malaysia's population underserved by banking services. BNPL could, of course, be a possible solution to that. Iman, thanks once again for taking the time to join us on Niaga Spotlight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
That was Iman Nabila, Head of Partnerships with Mobi Group. So saving more and, of course, spending wiser this Ramadan-Raya season is definitely one of the more attractive BNPL solutions. Malaysia has also seen the emergence of innovations like BNPL for credit cards and insurance. The BNPL space is expected to have regulations that come into force by the end of this year under Phase 1 of the Consumer Credit Act, or CCA. This is also timely, ensuring responsible lending and protecting consumers from debt traps, as BNPL becomes more widely used by Malaysians. We take a quick break now. Stay with us and we'll be right back with Niaga Spotlight.